Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad everyone's here. It is another Monday night, so we're going to get to talking Chiefs. I just want to give a shout out to everybody out there. I know it's been a rough week. I talked about it on the podcast as well. I hope you're staying safe, taking care of each other as best you can. We're going to use this as a distraction, and we're going to talk football. So I see some friendly faces in here already. Steve and Pono and Hog and Ray, Aaron, our fearless mod is here. Thank you. I have some new things coming for you guys. Unfortunately, my super fancy site for streaming is not running right now. I think they're having some kind of outage. So I'm not using the same thing where I can put your comments up on the screen. I actually had something to show you tonight. I have a new logo coming. I think you guys are going to dig. I'll have to get some specific gear for Aaron, get him hooked up, and move forward on that. Now, man, there's a lot to talk about in terms of football as well, but I hope you guys are doing well. Ryan, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So here's where we're at. Not a whole lot of movement on the Chris Jones things. I talked about that in the podcast that should be coming out here pretty quick. Had a lot of guests lately, a lot of time getting information from Matt Derrick, who's on the inside. And if you guys haven't seen any of my videos on what the coaching staff has to say, a lot of that are calls that, because I'm not credentialed, I'm not on the calls, but Chiefs PR gives me access to them. Thank you very much, Chiefs PR. Appreciate that. As well as 65 Toss Power Trap Productions. Nice to see you. Gary, Adam, nice to see you as well. But Matt's on there, and Matt gets to gauge what goes on. Gets to ask the questions himself. So I always like to get Matt's perspective. We work really closely with him. He's on all the time, and some of our things go on to Chiefs Digest as well. So you can find some. When I do write, it's on Chiefs Digest. When Chris does, it's on Chiefs Digest. So check that out as well. Big thing. I spent all weekend. Looking at L'Jarius Sneed. I had spent a little bit of time the week earlier, but I got a couple new all-22s of him playing corner. So I broke all that down. I have like 16 minutes of film breakdown for you guys, specific. No talking head. I know everybody's been saying a lot of comments lately about, hey, get to the film instead of talking about it. Okay, well, fine. So 16 hardcore minutes coming out on Wednesday, all about L'Jarius Sneed and how he fits into this defense, what he's able to do in college, and how that's going to translate over. So don't miss that. Tell your friends about it. I think it's going to be very eye-opening. We will get rolling here in just a second as people start to fill in. I know it's kind of a weird day with everything that's going on, and then it's a Monday too, so I will say cheers. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, make sure you hit the sub. Make sure you leave a comment or get into the chat. Leave a thumbs up if you like this one. It really helps me. And this here is my isolation triple. It's a Belgian triple that I made here at the house. And I've been making a lot more beer. So if you like beer too, I've got that other podcast channel where I do a lot of stuff on there. That's going to be stepping up as well. And a little more how-to, especially if any of you want to get into brewing beer at home. Let me know. Check that out, and we'll try to guide you along the way. I have a partner over there that's helping me out as well. So now that we're starting to get some folks and starting to get some questions, we'll get cutting. First is going to be testicular tactics. How are you, pal? Hope you're doing well. People compare Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I like that, to Maurice Jones-Drew, but they forgot that MJD ran a 4.4. Does that concern you? Not necessarily. I think it's a little bit of a stretch as well. But I can understand why they're saying it. It's because of his low center of gravity. It's because he's got a thick lower body, the glutes, the hams. He's got some power in there, and I think that reminds him of him physically. Yes, MJD was quicker. But you also have to remember that Kareem Hunt wasn't that fast. Right about the same time as Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I'm not concerned about the long speed in this game, especially in the way that they want to use him. Remember all those long passes that Kareem Hunt was able to catch. It's because he's fast enough that once he gets a beat on the defense, if the scheme gets him open, he was able to get behind them. That's why you haven't seen him go for super long touchdowns in Cleveland, because they don't have the play calling of Andy Reid there. They don't have the play design. And that's why it's different. So I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to step into a role very similarly. I don't know if they're going to send him on some of those wheel and ups and some of the things, especially his rookie year that got Kareem Hunt really wide open, that long pass against the Patriots in particular, and a couple of other things. But Clyde's got enough speed to hurt defenses when he knows where he's going and they're not sure. So I don't think that that's anything to be concerned about. I think that's going to work out just fine. Not anything that is going to slow down his progress. And from what the coaches have been saying, and both Dylan McCullough was on, Eric Bieniemy was on, they're very, very high on him. I have to think that he's going to get all the shots in the world, especially if Damian Williams has any of his normal kind of hiccups physically. Damian has a tendency to get beat up a little bit in the season, and then have to take some time to recover. And then Damian's a gamer come playoffs. So I think that there is definitely opportunity for Clyde to actually take the reins for a while. I think it's going to be a split here early, but we'll see how it all goes. Good question, Test. And folks, I don't think Gooch is on yet, but if you want to support the channel, the super chats are open, super stickers as well. But all I ask is if you do make a contribution to the channel, make sure you ask a question so I can get you something for it. I want to make sure that I get you value when you need it, and when you do that. So I appreciate all the support. You guys have been great, and we're just going to keep on going up from here. So next question, Ian Connis. Would it be a good idea to have Niang be the left tackle and move Fisher to left guard? I don't think so. Fisher plays at a good pad level. It's not excellent. And quite frankly, his biggest asset is his athleticism. It's not necessarily his strength. Inside against 320-pounders more often than speed guys, Eric's going to have trouble in there, anchoring, getting underneath some of the shorter, especially D tackles that he'd have to play. So I don't think left guard is a spot that Eric Fisher could really excel in. And quite frankly, I don't think Niang's ready. I certainly don't like flipping him to left. He's never played left. He was a right tackle in college. I think he played a few snaps at right guard. He's not played on the left since high school that I'm aware of. So I don't like flipping guys in the first place. I think let them go where they're used to. That's how they got good enough to get drafted. Leave them there. But I do think that Niang is probably a year away between the hip injury, having to get in a little bit different shape, and I think he needs to get a little bit stronger too. He actually reminds me a little bit of Fisher coming out. Fisher with the nasty streak, but Fisher a little undersized. I don't think Niang's size is bad, but I think he's got to get a little more upper body strength. His punch has got to get more consistent at landing and actually knocking guys off of their pass rush. I would like to see that. So I expect him to end up being the swing tackle, backing up Fish and Schwartz. And if some of those guys miss some snaps, he's there to step in. Now, could he compete at guard? Niang? Yeah, he could. They say they're going to give him an opportunity. I'm not so sure that that's the way it's going to go. Again, I don't want to flip him over to left. I think that's going to be a transition on top of the rookie transition with no offseason to prepare him. That's really going to be tough. And I think Wiley and Rankin have the advantage there. Rankin, if he's healthy in his leg, by the way. I have no report of that whatsoever, so I just don't know. And I think LDT is firmly entrenched at right guard. I don't think Niang could unseat him anyway. And I will tell you this, seeing what Larry's been doing, and if you missed Real Sports, I talked about it on the podcast, but go check Real Sports on HBO or HBO Max now. The interview they did with him was really eye-opening about what kind of a guy he is, what kind of leader he is. They want him in that locker room. They're not going to try to move on from him. And I actually think that he's set for a good recovery. I don't know what this offseason has done to his strength load because he's been doing some medical work, and that's what's on that show. And I know he's been doing the workouts that the Chiefs have sent him. And Coach Barry Rubin is a very accomplished strength coach. It's not for a lack of not having a program to follow. It's the fact that you're not in a program in the facility. That's what I'm concerned about. And I want to make sure you guys can hear me pretty well. I'm not getting much of a flashback here. So I'll turn this up a little bit, see if that helps. Hopefully that made a positive change. We will see. But I think Larry is in position to bounce back despite that, because everybody's kind of on even keel without having an offseason program. And what we see a lot of times is, yes, you can come back from an ACL or a meniscus or some ankle problems within a year. But we see that the initial recovery has gotten faster over the years. But we also see, like in Justin Houston's case, where the first year back is not necessarily at full strength. I'm a little concerned about that with Juan Thornhill. I want to see him actually get running and how he recovers. Now, he's at the very edge of youth in this league, so he might have the best chance of all. But I do feel like Larry is probably best at or has the best chance at getting back to where he was in 2018 when he played better than he did last year, his first year back off of the recovery. So I'm optimistic that he'll actually be better. Testico Tackus, I find Watkins frustrating. His side speed strength. Why isn't he Michael Thomas? Part of it is availability. Yes, he was better last year. He still missed a game or two, right? But before that, even for the Chiefs, he had consistently missed games. It makes it hard to get into rhythm. Makes it hard to do everything that you need to do to get open consistently. And it's also about the fact that he's playing with Tyreek Hill. He's not the number one. Same thing with the Rams. In Buffalo, he was, and he's had some revelations this offseason too about drinking every night and doing things that he shouldn't have been doing when he was in Buffalo, and that hurt him then. It also slowed his progress, I'm pretty sure. So the fact that the team really wanted him back and he didn't go out and find somewhere else to go, I think really says that all parties want him back, and I'm hoping that he can, again, step up another notch and not just come up in the playoffs, which he did, and to start the season, but to be a consistent threat all year long. I do think that that's in the cards for him, and I hope that he can pull it off. We're going to have to see, though. Shrek Curtis is here. How are you? Old Danny Harms is in here. Thanks, Dan. We have another talk coming up this week, folks, and we're putting some plans together to get a lot more stuff for you, too. So that's on the burner as well. Tactics. Here's an idea. We should never draft guys named Breland. Too much controversy. Were you even impressed by Speaks' 2018 work? I wouldn't say I was impressed. He didn't make that much of an impact. And I know there was that big thing about he didn't drop Tom Brady when he had the chance. And that you got to remember that was the year when they were calling roughing the passer for, breathing on the guy twice. So you got to play that into it. But I will say this. He did better at transitioning to outside linebacker than I expected him to. I thought he was a decent edge. I thought he played pretty damn well at 3-tech in college. I wasn't very optimistic about him playing backwards. He's one of those guys, when I talk about playing forwards is his thing, Breland Speaks is the perfect example of that. Coming off the ball, firing out, and attacking downhill, that's what he does well. Same thing with Reggie Ragland. Playing in reverse, trying to get depth, trying to get into a zone, trying to turn his hips and actually run with somebody like a tight end or running back. It was just never in the cards. I mean, quite frankly, I think the guy's a small defensive tackle more than anything else. So that was a tough one. But I do feel like he showed enough that if they do what they did with Agba and what I think they're going to do with Taco Charlton, moving him from end to tackle and back and forth, I think he can do that. And I think he's in for a chance that he can actually get better. It's all about whether he's had the stamina and the dedication to actually stay in shape, to get in shape, to do his rehab so his injury is taken care of. He should have had plenty of time for that. That should not be an issue at all if he did his rehab and he was dedicated to his job. Beyond that, it's about, did he get his body in better shape? Is he more capable, more prepared this year than last year to attack somebody instead of trying to make do with getting beat up, getting doubled, getting pushed out of position? He's got to be the aggressor, and I haven't seen that yet. And so I think that's going to be really important for him. Tactics. Okay, Lucas Clamage. Which player do you think will break out? I assume that you mean not a rookie. I think I don't understand why anybody would have any reluctance to say that Mecole Hardman's in the perfect position to have a breakout year. I mean, The guy had over 500 yards and 6 touchdowns last year as a rookie in Andy Reid's system. That's really good. Now, the resurgence of Sammy, like we were just talking about with Testicular, the resurgence of Sammy pulls coverage to the outside. I think that you're going to see more cover 4 and cover 3 this year. The difference is if you can get them in 2 high safeties, that's where Mecole can eat because he can blow past the linebackers and settle down into the middle in whether it's the over routes, whether it's just the streaks, the seams, but he can get in there between the safeties. And with Mahomes' arm, he can get that ball delivered. He's got to make catches over his shoulder, low angle, get down and keep running. I think the key for Mecole having a big season is Yak. Getting him to get in the spots where he can be delivered the ball and take off. We saw him accelerate through the Raiders last year when he caught that one, and literally the triangulation of the Raiders came and he blew right through it. I think there's way more of that in our future than in the past. So that's who I would probably say it is. Good question there, Lucas. I appreciate that. Oh, good. It looks like you guys can hear me. That's awesome. I was a little worried because my little monitor thing here isn't jumping very much. Let's see. Ian, do you see Hitchens having the best year if Gay is the real deal, giving him some legit help? It depends. If you're talking about pass coverage, yes, I do. If you guys missed it over the weekend, they replayed all the playoff games. And the one that I paid particular attention to was Texas. Because the Texans, I felt like, yeah, they jumped out and they let the Chiefs back in. It's hard to stop the Chiefs. So I get that part. But it's also key because the defense was able to ratchet down on them. And I feel like Derrick Henry and the Titans are kind of like a one-off. They're a pretty singular team in their ability to run down people's throats. I think the Texans are more close to what the Chiefs are going to see across the board. So having been able to shut them down in the run game, Hyde didn't do much that game. They were able to get after Deshaun Watson. But a lot of that came from Reggie Ragland standing up and playing a lot more. And that's not Willie's game. I think Willie can't be that guy that stands up in the A-gap and threatens to try and rush it and pull linemen to him. I think what Willie has to be is the guy that's off, that is a delay blitzer, that is a dog that lets things start and then attacks. If he can do that, then I do think that Hitch can be a guy that can eat either blitzing or in coverage. If he's got somebody solid next to him that can do his part, I think the big nickel could have a resurgence this year where you don't have to run 3 safeties, where you can run Willie and Hitch and be okay. Now, I can't say it's going to be like that to start the year. The coaches are very high on Willie Gay Jr. to begin with, but they haven't even seen him on the field yet. So, you know what I mean? But I do think he will eventually get there. And if he does, if they do get caught in the base, if they do have teams that want to, go jumbo on them or go double tight all the time where the Chiefs are going to shift back into their base defense, I think having Willie as the will on the outside and Damian out there being able to take on the Sam duties, even though Reggie played some of that last year, I think that does set up Hitch to be Hitch and to be able to run to gaps. It's a question of not just being sound in your assignment, but again, I need Hitch to be more explosive. I need him to be more aggressive and exploit obstacles, not just get there and settle down. Exploit them, explode through gaps. That's what I need to see from him. In fact, one of the reviews that's still coming for me, I'm going to go over Rashad Fenton here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to look at the linebackers. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean about how there's still room to improve. Yes, the defense got a lot better towards the end of the season, but there's a long way to go that they can get much, much better. Oh, that's a long way to say, yeah, I think he could do good. Hot and spicy. If Mahomes were to take a pay cut, how much do you think that he will take? I don't think Mahomes is going to go. I mean, if he took a reduction to $35 million a year on this contract that's coming, I mean, that would open up all kinds of possibilities for the Chiefs. I think it's more than likely he's in the 40 to 42 range. I think Dak's sadly mistaken if he thinks he's going to get 45. I don't see anybody pushing the envelope that would make Mahomes' contract rise. Mahomes will set the bar no matter what. There's nobody that can really push him for that. But I don't think 50's in the cards. I just don't feel that that's viable for any team. Chiefs in particular, because This is one of the smaller markets in the league, but with the whole question about fans and seats, ticket sales, contract revenue from the television, there's a lot of question marks about what the bottom lines are going to be. And so I can't see that getting to that 50, but I do think it'll get over 40. And if he takes 42 or 40 instead of 45, like I think he can probably demand, I think that helps them out long term. Norman Schreck, how are you? UDFA that you are watching and why? There's a few of them. I'll start with the not so fancy one. No offense, Darrell Williams. But Darrell Williams, number 2, Darrell with a Y, is probably a long shot to make this roster. I don't mean as a practice squatter. I mean to make this roster. I know they like Austin Ryder. I'm not as high on him. I think Darrell has a lot of similar things that he can do. I think he's a little bit stronger. I don't think he's quite as athletic, but it's not that far apart in my opinion. I think Reader's one of the least athletic linemen that they have, and they like athletic linemen. So I do feel like Darrell Williams has a chance at either left guard or center to make this roster. Beyond him, Davis, the little quarterback, Javaris, I think that's how you say it. Sorry if I messed that up. And Lavert Hill is probably my number 1 UDFA on the defensive side because he has a tendency to make plays on the ball. Being where he'll be on the depth chart and being that the Chiefs' cornerback room is probably the weakest on the roster in terms of a single position group, I think that gives him some opportunity. And if he can make plays in practice, I think he can make this roster. The impact is the question for me. So that's why I'm watching both of them. And I will continue to do that. Adam Daughtry, thanks for your donation. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the support. And your question is, how long can Kelce stay and be productive? That is an excellent question. He will be 30 this season. And I know that sounds bad when you think of football players and their longevity. He had his first season off because of injury. That was it, tibial plateau? I can't remember what it was. It might have been microfracture. I thought it was tibial plateau. That gives him an extra year. Despite what I think I've seen lately, I feel like he still has 4 or 5 good years. That's pushing it for a tight end. We saw Antonio Gates stay too long. I think we saw Tony Gonzalez retire too early. So I think there's a spot in there. But I do feel that after the ankle surgery before last season, I don't feel Travis was as explosive last year as he had been in 2018 and before. But that said, he's still the best tight end in football. No offense, George Kittle. I love what you do. You're not there yet. So it's about attrition. It's about how he can take care of his body now. We're going to see a little bit of a shift. A lot of players, once they reach a championship, start to get a little bit more conservative about what they do because they have that ring and they've made it up that mountain. They get to the point where they don't take as many chances with their bodies. Hopefully, between the championship and him seeing that, hey, I am getting older, hopefully he can put that together and maintain his body better. I think he's still a guy that likes to go out and have a good time. And I think at this age and this point in his career, he's got to be body first, good time second in order to maximize his longevity. But I do think that he can be here for a good 3 or 4 more years. I do believe another contract's coming in Kansas City. I'm not so sure that he doesn't play his whole career here. It's going to be whether the departure is voluntary or not. Gary Allen, how are you? Do you think that Mahomes' contract gets done this year and does Jones get traded? I do not think that Patrick's contract gets done this season. I just don't see how it can happen. There's just so much question around not only what will the cap be itself, how much money do you have to spend, but also that they don't know if it's actually going to come through this year for this cap in this season because of all the question marks about seats, about maybe only being able to fill Arrowhead to 30,000. That's not much in terms of being able to keep the lights on there. So that puts a big chunk of revenue out of your pocket. So I think that they just have to bide their time. And I think both sides are amicable to this. I think they understand that the 5th-year option is there for a reason. They're going to use it. They're going to start talking now. And I think they'll get to the point where it just doesn't make sense unless we find something out about the revenue for the league and about butts in seats. I think that's everything. That's what it comes down to. On the other topic, Chris Jones doesn't have any trade value right now, in my opinion, for similar two reasons. One of them is similar because, again, he will demand a contract, and he's worth a contract, not quarterback money, not $40 million, but 20. And that takes some planning as well. And so I don't think this team is definitely not in position to make that happen this year on anything shorter than a 5-year contract, probably. And my guess is that Chris wants a 3 or a 4 maximum in terms of length so that he can get out, and before he's at that magic 30 number, that he can get another contract under his belt. I think he's 25. I don't think he turns 26 until next year. So I think that slows it down. Here's the other thing. It says something to the league when the team that's had you since you were drafted is not breaking down your door to give you the extension. The franchise tag says that there has to be some caution from the team that knows you best. And I think that slows down all the other teams. So again, I think it's about money having to be spent that keeps them from doing that. And a team is never going to trade for him if they're not confident in giving him that $100 million contract. So I think that wears into it. And I don't think that Chris Jones has trade value right now. I just don't think there's anybody that's willing to pull the trigger. I could be wrong. They could get, full release to have full stadiums again. And maybe that changes in a heartbeat. I don't know. But right now, it just feels to me like I don't think there's any takers. So, hey, that works for the Chiefs. It sucks to have them on the franchise tag. I think I told you guys back when the season ended, like the worst scenario for both parties is to play on the tag, but it seems that that's what they're going to do. That's my gut feeling as of right now. Good question, Gary. Let's see. Paul Smith, I don't know if they're going to pick up another corner or not. If they do, I think it'll be just before camp. We'll see who's left. Who's next? Hey, Big Test, how are you? Hope you're doing good. Okay, Jake S., thank you very much, my friend. Ian confirmed as well. Okay, we're all good on audio. I appreciate that, you guys. All right, I'm falling behind on questions. Apologies. Thomas Passwater, thanks for your super chat and the support. Much appreciated. Your question is, with Mecole's role, last year being limited, how do you see him this year shaping up for him? I see them being able to use him in more spots. I see him not being as relegated to the slot, which is good for him. There's a big learning curve there, and his athleticism carried him through and made him productive as a rookie. I think this year his head makes him productive. And I think that as they get more creative about how to get Tyreek and Sammy open, I think it leaves Mecole as the guy who draws the third best corner. I think you're going to see them try to play some mixed zones. And I think if he does line up on the outside, I think teams are going to try to press the snot out of him because despite Tyreek being smaller in height, he's got more girth to him. You know what I mean? Like he gets off a press better than Mecole does. That's a skill that he's got to learn. He hasn't played wide receiver that long. So I think they're going to try to attack him there. And if he can get better at hand fighting and keeping guys' hands off of him and then accelerate, he's going to have a huge season. His speed is second to now only Tyreek and maybe Ruggs. We'll see. I'm real excited about what that can be for Mecole. Let's see. Adam Daughtry, what's up, buddy? What would our rank be if you graded by effective pulling linemen? It'd be in the top 10. It's not where it was a few years ago. It's certainly not where it was with Casey Wegman, but it's not where it was with, in particular, Mitch Morse. Mitch Morse and LDT together were a pulling tandem that was probably, if you were just looking at 2 of the 3 interior linemen, they were top 2, if not the best. Rodney Hudson was also good on the move, even though he's more of a squat power guy, but he still moved real well. So overall, Ryder doesn't move that well. He's okay. It's not bad. I'd say he's a little bit above average, but he's not the athlete Mitch Morse is. I think Wiley's pretty poor on the run. I think Rankin's average at best, probably below. LDT is not as good as he was. I do think that returns this year, though, so I will say that. But they're not as good outside as they used to be. Ray Booth, how are you? Are you sold on Tampa Bay being a Super Bowl contender like everyone else says? Not on your life. I don't care that Tom Brady's there. I don't care that Gronk's there. Neither of them have played in a BA offense, and I don't buy that BA is going to be happy dinking and dunking and doing their thing. BA wants to go downfield all day long. And the first time that either Tom doesn't have the protection or Tom short arms a throw to a wide open Evans, you're going to see BA's head get red. You're going to see that goatee start to get furious. I don't think it's going to be a smooth sail myself. And I certainly don't buy, just because they have a strong defense, that all of a sudden that's going to be it. I don't want to do this, but I guess I have to. I don't want to give McDaniels too much credit. But there's something to be said about the synergy of Brady and McDaniels. And while I do think that Tom Brady is a good quarterback, I don't really feel like this match with BA is the best thing. It didn't make sense to me when it happened. I'm still not sold on it. They got to prove it to me. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and then they end up in the Super Bowl. That's fine. Keep up with Mahomes, I dare you. But I don't see it. That's just me. Ray, you got another one right behind. Nicely done. And the second one is there was also a penalty on the play that speaks. Oh, didn't sack Tom Brady, so it wouldn't have even mattered. Yeah, there's that too. That's a fair point. Testicular tactics. By drafting an RB early and a CB late, Andy shows how much he misses Kareem and how much he doesn't miss Marcus Peters. I can get down with the last part. Marcus Peters blew himself up here, and it's way worse than anybody knows, from what I've heard from people on the inside. So, yeah, he does not miss Marcus Peters at all. I will say this, though. I don't think he misses Kareem. I think, honestly, not only Clark Hart, but I think Andy Reid felt a little betrayed by Kareem, a guy that he went out on a limb for. The lying is something that people don't get over. If they can't trust you, especially in a position like that where he was trying to make you a household name, I think that carries a lot of weight. So, no, I don't think that he misses Kareem. I think what it is he saw a guy that had more explosiveness, a different kind of ability to make players miss. Kareem ran people over. He had contact balance, right? He had the girth. He had the lower body to withstand impact and keep running. Clyde doesn't do that. I think Clyde makes more people miss in a big way. He had the most missed tackles forced in the college game last year. And it's not by absorbing hits and spinning out or anything like that. It's making people miss him, giving his already compact frame something to shrink into to keep them from being able to make contact. I think it's a different style of running, but delivers the same thing. And quite frankly, Kareem was pretty good catching the ball, especially downfield, more so than I had ever thought so looking at his college film. Clyde's better. So for Andy, it's Westbrook and Shady all over again. Throw the ball to the running back all day long. Okay. Abby Cecilia, do you know where you can get? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what you're asking. A Dareway? I'm not sure what that is, but hey, glad you're here. Andy Anderson, how much will a player like Sneed play since Breezy is gone half the year and Ward and Fenton are the only other options? He's going to play a lot. I said it today, and if you miss today's podcast, go check it out. Breeland's going to get a 4-week just for the substance. This arrest is going to cost him more. So you're right. It could be half a year. It could be a whole year. You don't know. So that's got what I think is Sneed playing early and often. Here's the caveat, though. I like Fenton outside. I think the team might end up doing that. Steve Spagnuolo last week was really specific in saying that it took them a while to figure out what they had. Well, with a rookie like Fenton, not only being in the first year of the defense, but being the first year with this kid and a guy that's, continuing to grow as a player, I feel like they might still not know what they have in him. And I like him better outside, and I think that's what they might discover as well. And if that does happen, Ward, Fenton, outside, it doesn't mean that Sneed comes into the nickel. He can do that. I have my film review. If you guys that are late, I have my Sneed film review. It goes up Wednesday. It's like 16 minutes of all film. I cut in just a tiny bit. No talking head, so you guys should love it. I know we've been talking a lot on the channel lately. Well, this is all film all the time, so you'll dig it. But there I show you, he does line up as nickel. He was about 50% of the snaps last year, was free safety and nickel. He can do that. He doesn't have the best change of direction. He's good. He's not great. So here's the thing. Sneed doesn't have to earn reps at corner. Steve Spagnuolo and Sam Madison were both very specific in liking how versatile he is. I think he could play a fuller role and be a guy that comes in and can come down and play corner, nickel corner if he needs to. He could let Fenton bump in and take over the outside, certainly. Here's the other thing. You can put Sneed in there, let him line up as a corner one snap, and put him back at safety the next snap because he's seen it last year at La Tech. That means Matthew can come down and play the nickel like he did in the playoffs. And I feel like that's a way that they can still get a coverage safety and not put Dan back there and put Sorensen in a position to get beat, like that pass against Juszczyk. I think that's a way that you can see Sneed play multiple positions as a rookie. I'm really excited about his upside and how they're going to use him. And I think Steve Spagnuolo is pretty excited as well. Who's next? Rocky Shack, how are you? Any former first rounders on Veach's radars? All of them. Seriously, like anybody who gets cut that is a former first rounder, he will look. But I will say this, like, just because they're a first rounder doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be interested. He goes after guys that he had high grades on when they were in the draft. So he still relies on his staff and his initial evaluation. So if there's a guy that they had as a first round grade, not just that he went in the first round, but they had him as a first rounder, they will definitely go take a look. They're strapped for cash right now, so I can't say that they can definitely get anything signed. That's going to be the big deal. It's about balance. And right now, you have enough for your draft class, and that's it. So they'd have to do something in order to make a move. Thanks, Rocky. That was a super chat, and I didn't quite realize that till just now. I appreciate the support. Thank you, dude. AC Phillips, swindling the salary cap by giving high guaranteed money seemed to play big roles for the Cowboys and Broncos during their Super Bowl runs. Do you see that in play here for the Mahomes contract? I absolutely do not. Look at the Broncos. Post Manning has been horrific for them. Dallas only got bailed out by the fact that Dak hadn't peaked in college and had a chip on his shoulder. Dak earned what he's going to get. I think he's still crazy for thinking he's worth $45 million, but every dollar that he gets, he earned. He has outplayed everyone's evaluation, certainly mine. And that's the only reason that the Cowboys have not been just as horrific. So no, I think the Chiefs are thinking long-term. I think Patrick understands that. And I know that Chris, his agent, is definitely understanding that in order for Mahomes to reach his full potential, and his full potential includes the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks, he has the potential to be up there with the best of them, with Brady, with Montana, who is number one, by the way, with all of them. In order to do that, he has to have help. He doesn't want to be Dan Marino. He doesn't want to be the best quarterback in the game that can't win. And I am certain of that. So I think that there is room there. And I do see that it's going to play a piece in how that goes. I don't know that it's going to be because they're scared of what happened in Denver and Dallas. I think it's more about wanting to secure enough and procure enough to make sure you have the talent to win multiple championships. And hey, good for them. That's what I would do. Finn, how are you, bud? It's been a while. Talk about the Mahomes contract might look like. Okay, so I gave you a hint earlier. I do think it's in the 40 to 42 range when it all comes down. I think he could demand 45-ish, but I think that's really about the top. I don't think anybody's going to go near a $50 million quarterback, not with how much is up for grabs right now in terms of continuity. That said, I think he's willing to take a little bit less, not a ton. I mean, the kid hasn't been paid. He hasn't made any money in the NFL yet. I think he's made like a total of $3 million. I mean, Super Bowl and multiple MVPs, that should have been, a tenth of his signing bonus if he was a Breeze or a Manning or a Brady. So certainly for his future, for his long-term life, he's got to get paid. But I think he'd be willing to take 42 instead of 45. Maybe he'd be willing to take 40 if the offer's 42. I don't know. Because I think he, too, a lot because of his dad. His dad played for the Mets. You learn how to lose and be a good player, right? I don't think he wants to see that. I think that's important. And I think that drives a lot of it. But it's not like, it's not like a, hey, we'll take 30% off the top kind of thing. It's not that kind of deal. It's still a brand new car. You know what I mean? The Ferrari still costs what the Ferrari costs. Potokwai, how are you? Is Lucas going to be ready to go for the start of the season after his surgery? A lot of comments point to are ready to go after the start. He went out in October. This is Lucas Niang we're talking about, folks. The drafty right tackle that might get a chance to try at right guard as a backup. Everything that I said is he shut it down in order to do that, and that the labrum repair went well. And I have looked into it. I mistakenly said on draft night that it was a shoulder labrum. It wasn't. It was his hip. So I had to go back and look. And everything that I saw post-op in terms of reports out of TCU, out of his agent and everything, was that it went swimmingly. He said the night that he was drafted to Andy Reid that he's good to go, that he feels he's 100% now, and he's had a few more months to rehab. So I'm optimistic. He was still a decent player, even injured, but if his hip is fully mobile, and again, like I said with LDT, sometimes it takes 2 years to get fully back, but if he's 80, 90%, I think it's a year where he can sit back as a swing tackle behind Schwartz and Fisher, learn, and be ready to contribute in the case of emergency. I think he is a break glass in case of emergency guy. Rocky, thanks. I appreciate that. Dave Kaiser, should we expect Juan Thornhill back? Yes, definitely. The question's going to be when. He feels he has been cleared to run, by the way, so he can start jogging and whatnot. He says he's feeling great and then he's feeling back to it. The original prognosis was for him to be back by camp, so by August 1st. Not having OTAs, he's one of the few people that hasn't hurt because he wasn't going to be able to participate anyway. The question is whether his rehab had continued and whether he's able, because of not having a facility and not getting with the team physicians, not getting with Rick Burkholder and his athletic training staff, if he's really continuing to make the progress. I even said at the time, even if he was ready at camp, once you start practicing that often, back on the job, sometimes you take a step back and it just takes some adjustments. So I was thinking that maybe he wasn't going to be ready week 1, but he might be ready by week 4. Same thing could be true. He could be ready day 1. He could take him a little bit longer. But you will see Juan Thornhill in 2020 unless he has some freak accident, another injury, and I don't even want to talk about that because I really like where his career is going. Nathan Altick, what do you think of Matt House being excited for O'Daniel this year? I thought that was really telling. And I think it goes back to what Spagnuolo said as well, that they just didn't know what they had. They still, I think in some cases, don't really know what they had. But even Spags said, later in the year, we were using him to shadow Deshaun, to act as that last line of defense against a more mobile quarterback. It's not like Deshaun's going anywhere. He's going to be around. They're going to face some mobile quarterbacks this year. Folks, September 28th, if everything stays on schedule, Ravens are coming week 3. Dorian O'Daniel might need to play. That's going to be a big question. And I think he and House especially, knowing him for a year, figuring out how they can use him. I think that's really key. So I think that's a very good sign for him, and I hope that works out in his favor. I expect it to, and I hope I'm right. Mr. Alec from State Farm, how are you, buddy? Are you concerned about the lack of contract talk from Jones? I'm not concerned. I'm not surprised. I think he's going to play on the tag, and that's just going to be that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It'll be all right. Jake asks, who are the Chiefs' most overrated and underrated opponents this season? Ooh, I haven't really looked that deeply. I think Tampa Bay might be one of their most overrated. I'll tell you that. And Finn, I have a shirt coming for you that is definitely along the lines of your Juan Solo. Pona Kawhi, what is the backbone of the Wishbone offense in the past? I see so much potential in CH and Damian in the same backfield. The Wishbone is tough because it makes defenders make choices, but it also limits what you can do. I don't see that coming. I think you might see a little bit more option, but I think it's all going to be based on, it's not going to be which running back do you give it to. It's going to be whether you keep it with Mahomes or you give it to a running back. So I don't see the Wishbone. Although I will say this, I really love that full house Wildcat thing with Kelce. I would love to see that again. And by the way, Darrell Williams ran the Wildcat in college, so I'm just saying. Let's see. Bradley Havens, most likely candidate for regression. That is a good question. You have to say Sammy. If he is unable to continue to keep his body right, if he starts to get hurt again, that could be a problem. It could be interesting with Ward. I feel like Ward's confidence is good, but I don't think it's great. And he's going to start seeing the best receiver from every team every week. I hope he did his work. I hope he got himself better. He had moments, and I do feel on the whole in 2019 he progressed in a positive direction. I think he's still got room to improve. Let's hope that he keeps doing it. Andy Anderson. Do you like Okafor's worth in 2020? He has a big cap hit, and I'm not convinced. That's a fair point. It's the injury thing, but I think the team really likes him again because he's versatile. He can rush the passer, he can set the edge, and he can drop. I don't know how many other players that play defensive end for this team you can say that of. I think that keeps him. I agree with you. The number is outlandish, and I said it last week on the pod when I did the defensive end thing. I think it's Okafor's job to lose. Now, that's assuming that he's healthy. I don't know that. Maybe he's not. We'll have to see. He is old enough that sometimes that pec can be troublesome once you blow it. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think like Taco Charlton isn't the guy that's going to drop into coverage. So that limits him certainly on first down, in my opinion. I think it's a Okafor for Charlton switch on third down is what it comes down to. And I like Charlton in a pass rush only role. Okay. Getting down here. Oh, we got some contributions. Thank you, guys. Dennis Painter. What are the Chiefs' long-term plans for Chris Jones? Again, they're going to have to get Mahomes done. I think they're going to leave him on the tag this year, see how he performs. Maybe they have to tag him again next year. I don't know. If he performs well, I think it's, again, a situation where they're going to try to move away from that contract because they got to pay Mahomes. But things change. I don't think that there's anger. I think it's just that Chris really feels that he's worth Aaron Donald money, $20 million a year, and the Chiefs don't. Somebody's got to prove somebody wrong. Do you feel that the Chiefs haven't put a lot of effort into finding a tight end too? Thomas Passwater, you are on the money. I am a little concerned about that because Travis Kelce gets hurt this year. I like Ricky Seals-Jones. I think he has some upside. And I think in this particular offense, he could be good. But he's not coming down to attach to the line and start blocking. He's not coming down on combos with Schwartz. That ain't going to work. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I agree. I don't think that they've put enough effort into finding a tight end too. And I do have to admit, part of that is maybe they don't feel that there are enough viable candidates out there. I think is it Nick Keiser Kaiser's on the roster in Baltimore, and they had him, but they didn't feel that it was enough to keep him. Rocky Shack, thank you, sir. Again, another contribution. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Do you think Pringle can step up for next year? I think that he can. I think he's going to push DeMarcus Robinson for reps. Clearly, the top three are Hill, Watkins, and Hardman, but I think Pringle can push DeMarcus Robinson. Man, watching those games, those postseason games with drops again, it really irks me. I can't believe that the coaching staff doesn't feel the same way. Mr. Finn 2187, are you comfortable with the O-line acquisitions? Not particularly. I'm really concerned about left guard. I think it drags down Fish. I think Fish needs somebody he can trust, somebody that's capable in at left guard in order to play his best. I will also say this. I think if Darrell Williams wins the job at center, I think that might help all the guards. Just my thought. Mr. Gooch, welcome back, my friend. Thank you for the support, as always. Gary Holland, in 2021, draft position should they draft in the first and second pick? I got to see how everything shakes out, but an early look says it's going to be corner or tight end. That looks like it. Question is, I don't think that the tight end class for 2021 is a whole lot better than it was for 2020, so there probably isn't even an option there. Mr. Gooch, thank you again. Your contributions with questions now. Are we waiting to do Jones since Mahomes has started contract talks? I don't think they're waiting. I still think that they're far apart. I heard earlier this week, or late last week, it's the best way to put that, that they haven't, Jones agents and Veach have not talked in quite a long time. Jones is not participating in the offseason program. When they say 100% participation, they mean guys that are under contract. Chris Jones is not under contract. He has not signed that franchise tag. So I don't think that they're holding off for that. I don't think that it's amicable right now in terms of a number. I don't think it's a conscious choice. I think if they were closer to a number where they could work it, I think that they would be working on that. And your second question, thank you again for the super chat. Do we trade Jones for the Jet safety since he's an overall cheaper and younger? Man, I couldn't really complain. The money's going to be about the same, so you're not really going to save anything. I think Adams is going to get a huge contract. But I will say this. I don't want to take Juan Thornhill off the field. And I think Juan Thornhill is more of a true center fielder. And you ain't taking Tyron off the field. I know they run a lot of three safety set, and that would be the best three safety set in the history of football, probably. But is it worth paying Tyron 14 and you're going to have to give Adams more? I don't think so. The Jets are probably, out of their minds enough to do it, so maybe. Great questions, and thank you for the support, buddy. Aragorn 7233. Is there anyone in next year's draft who could fill Chris Jones's spots? I'm sure there are. I haven't done any work on the defensive line yet. I've done some of the quarterbacks and receivers a little bit, but haven't really dug in yet. Next question, Shaggy Daddy. How are you, buddy? Where does Mike Rimmers fit into the O-line if Niang is going to swing tackle? I think Rimmers is meant to be there at guard, and I think he's meant to drive the other guards. I'm not convinced he wins a starting job. I need to see him in action. I like Rankin there pretty good, and I think Wiley's probably the odds-on favorite right now to start at left guard. Rimmers could push him, though, and I think that's going to be a battle. I think that's probably good for Wiley. Ray Booth, for such an awesome answer to my question. Oh, cheers. Appreciate that. Let's see. Dre Caldwell, how much points do you think Keys will get? Oh, how much playing time do you think Keys will get? That's a really good question. I still haven't seen his all 22. I've seen some highlights and I've seen some broadcast. But that never works for me with corners. I got to see all 22, and I haven't been able to watch any of it yet. I'll give you a better answer once I do, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to do that here this summer. It comes down to bodies. If you don't have Breland, Sneed's got to be playing, and Keys might be the next best. So that means if you go dime, you got to bring him in, right? If you go, if somebody twists an ankle, he's in. You know what I mean? So I think he is going to get some playing time. I put him well above Hamilton. I know the Chiefs keep pumping up Hamilton, but Hamilton's a special teams player. He's never played defense. I don't see any reason why in his 5th year he's going to start miraculously being a defensive force. So I don't know. Rashad Rozier, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know if that's chicken or what that dude is, but it's mic drop, and I appreciate it. Kyle Hilliard, I keep hearing the Chiefs won the Super Bowl due to no calls and holding from the offensive line. Okay, sure. Yeah, you're going to hear that, especially from Niners fans. There's a whole lot of holding. There's plenty of calls that have gone against the Chiefs, too. Yeah, were there a couple of suspect plays? Sure. And you're going to hear all of them complain about the offensive interference from Kittle, which was legit. So just tell them to go away. Jack Lynch, could you put your podcast on CastBox, please? I can't put anything directly onto CastBox. CastBox is it's a hub. It's a puller. I am working on a way to put everything that's on the YouTube channel onto audio as well to make a true podcast as well as the video. So I will try to do that for you. It's on my list, but it's kind of a ways down. I'll try to get to it before the season. Thanks, Jack. Adam Daughtry, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. Do you expect Clyde to carry or receive more? I think initially it's going to be catches. I think they're going to let Damian take the rock first, second down, see what he can get. And I think when they sprinkle Clyde in, I think initially it's going to be on passing downs. I think Dan Harms might disagree with me, but Dan and I will argue about that on another time and make sure we put it up for you. And I think eventually that will become more of an even split. And I think eventually Clyde becomes the starter. Let's see. Tactics. Finally, someone said it. Montana over Brady. Also Breeze over Brady. Also Peyton all over all of them. I can't get down with the last one, bro. I still have Montana over Peyton. Yeah, it's not particularly close for me. But yeah, Montana easily. He's at the top of the mountain for me. Had Bradley Havens, if not $50 million a year, could Mahomes maybe be okay with other guarantees, 100% guaranteed or renegotiate clause option? That's a possibility, and I hear a lot of people throw around the overall cap percentage thing. I just don't know if the Chiefs or the league is really ready to go out on any limbs in terms of strangeness with so much question about where their revenue is going to come from in the next 10 years. So let's get through this pandemic. And I think that's, again, a reason why they put it off, so they get a better feel for what they're going to have to work with. Great point, though, Bradley. Brandon Meter, do you think that Niang could potentially be a future replacement for one of the tackles? I do, and I think that's exactly what they think. I just don't know when. You don't want to push anybody out. Schwartz is still playing at the top of the right tackle pile. And Eric Fisher is a good tackle. He's a very good tackle. He's not elite, but he's very good. Mr. Gooch is back. Thank you again, sir. There is wording that states contracts cannot be tied to the salary cap. Pat could be the first, keeps him on the top his whole career while the cap goes up and we don't have an issue next contract. Could be. I would love to see something like that come through. I just don't know how they can get it done, and I'm not sure what has to happen in order to make the Chiefs comfortable with doing that. Okay. Larry Heimer, should the Chiefs sign Mahomes to an exact dollar amount contract or a percentage of the cap contract? Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think that a percentage is in the cards. I don't think that's an actual possibility right now. Maybe a year from now. And again, I do think there's contracts coming a year later. We'll see. Norman Schreck, heard Mahomes might be the first NFL player to take a percentage. Yes, exactly. Good job. Mr. Gooch, thank you again. And yeah, I know. I've been talking about it. So here's the thing. I have to build all this stuff for the memberships so that you have access, so that you have things, icons that I'm working on it. I swear. I'm not the best graphic designer, so it's taking me a little bit. Here's what memberships are going to come down to. It's a monthly fee. You become a member of the site. There'll be 3 levels. One will be a couple of bucks. One will be 10 or so. One will be 20 or so. There'll be exclusive content for the members. There'll also be some content that the members will see first, and then will come to the rest of the channel. There will probably be a couple of other things as well. The big thing that I'm going to do is what I want to grow from is direct interaction. So when you become a member, you'll have the ability somehow or some way, again, something I have to build, for members to send me video questions, send me pieces of film for them, and we'll have a conversation and I'll put it in the video. That's the idea. I want it to be important, and I want it to be something that makes the member content yours for the members. So it's just taking me a while to build it all, man. I got trademarks going on. I got all kinds of stuff coming for you guys. Don't even worry about it. You guys are going to love this when this thing finally gets done. I just don't know when it's going to be. Nathan Altic, if O'Daniel does make the leap that we've been waiting for, could you see a future starting lineup being Gay and O'Daniel? I'm doing a nickel because that's really what the base defense is. That's fair. That's hard for me to see because Willie's a great athlete. He doesn't take on the run that well. Part of it's because I don't have enough film to really gauge it by. It's going to be about how he makes his transition. And here's the thing. O'Daniel, I like. You put him in a big nickel, it's up to him and the other linebacker to stop the run based off of what the tackles are doing. I don't buy that. I see teams running down their throats if it's Willie and Dorian as the only linebackers on the field. So no, I don't see that. But I will say this. I won't be surprised if when Dan Sorensen's contract is higher than his usefulness to this team, that Dorian O'Daniel doesn't play more of a hybrid nickel role where he's actually lined up as a safety sub. He did that in college. I think he's still capable of it, and I think the staff is still trying to figure out how to use him. So don't be surprised by that one. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here, folks. I think I got down to the end and didn't miss anybody. A couple of same questions about the percentage thing. I think we addressed that. Aaron Morrow, do you think that the writing's on the wall for Breland and Speaks, or is just staying for depth and we keep that many? I think it's really about how he shows up whenever they're able to get back on the field. If he's fit and ready to actually impart his will on his pass rush, I think they'll forgive his deficiencies in the run game if he can make an impact rushing the passer. If he can't, it's over. So that's it. I think that's what it comes down to. Let's see. Any little stragglers will hit the last few, and we will all have our evening. Adam Daughtry, will our run stop be better starting this year? I think it will. I think it'll be better than it was last season to begin with. I don't think it'll be quite as good as it was at the end of last year. Changing Reggie out for a rookie in Willie Gay, who is not a run defender, does open a couple of things up to be a little bit of a liability, especially if you go watch the Texans game from the playoffs again. Reggie was all over that place in the A gaps, covering passes in the flats, doing Reggie things. Willie's things are not the same. And so you're giving up a little bit of strength and run stop for Willie's pass coverage. It's a trade-off. Jeremy Green, I did not realize that you were in Ireland. Sláinte. I have family over in Cork. So hopefully have a beer for me. Oh, did I miss something, Aaron? It looks like you were saying something to Chris Wanzer. Do you think the Chiefs' Chris Jones will be traded? No, I don't think that he will. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him right now. Okay. Dan Harms was here. Aaron Morrow is our mod. We have a little bit of a team going here at RGR, and I appreciate you guys for supporting us. It's going to let us do some cool things. I just saw one other. Do you see the looming contract for Chris Jones? Do you expect another cut? If so, who is it? I don't think that they get the contract done. And if they do, they'll structure it so that this first year is low enough that they don't have to cut anyone. That's my thought. So, all right, good. Dan is still here. I do read every now and then. We're 5 minutes over. Not Willie. Dang, I did that again. Javarius Sneed, Jerry Sneed. Film review on Wednesday. Full 15 minutes, all kinds of stuff. You guys will love it. Some great plays coming out of him. Dan will be back with more film review. Dan and I are going to have a long discussion at some point this week. We'll show that to you guys as well. New t-shirts coming, new logos coming, memberships coming, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a good week. Stay safe out there. Stay healthy out there. Be kind to your fellow man. We'll be back here next Monday night. Watch Wednesday, watch Friday, and we'll see you next time.